What's up, gang? Kawaii50 here with another Fake Grand Order video, and all of you are clearly crazy, because I went and tallied up the votes for the next friend point servant you all wanted to see a breakdown for, and the servant who got the most votes is Jason. Yes, Jason. The man who is somehow lawful good. I don't really understand how Fate does their alignment system. But hey, you wanted it, so you got it. We are going to be breaking down Jason, allies, craft essences, command codes, the whole 9 yards, so you can help get the most out of this 1-star saber. And he's actually got some surprising tricks up his sleeve. So, this video helps you out. Be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Jason has a quick 2 arts, 2 buster deck with an AoE arts type Noble Phantasm. His stats are, of course, low, considering he is a 1-star servant, sitting at 7,575 HP and 5,457 attack. You're really going to need to invest in that attack stat or give him some serious buffs if you want him to be a strong frontline fighter. Out of the box, he really is not. However, if you do invest in him heavily, you can feasibly have him be a Noble Phantasm Looper with Caster Artoria. But this is more of a luxury thing. It is possible, but it is by no means what Jason is designed for out of the box. So please keep that in mind. His NP per hit is solid at a 0.3 with his 4 hits on his arts cards, and his star absorption is what can be expected from a saber. Jason's first skill is the desired Argon coin. This gives one ally HP recovery, 1,000 to 2,000, and it also removes 1 debuff from them. The best part of this skill is the fact that it is on a relatively short 4-turn cooldown. This is a solid heal, especially on a 1-star servant. Prime example that the power level of these weaker servants is starting to go up. Still, I recommend that you max this last. This is by no means Jason's premier skill, and it really isn't designed to keep him alive. It's designed to more help out an ally, a little bit of a last resort ability. His other 2 skills are just plain better. Jason's second skill is Inspiration at Death's Door rank A. This gives an ally 1 instance of evade for 1 turn, and also increases their star gather rate for 1 turn by 500 to 1000%, so it can even be a decent increase on a Berserker type servant. This does come at the cost of decreasing Jason's defense by 20% for 1 turn, but it's not really a big deal. You're using Jason as a supporter. Maybe you use this on Jason. Well, he's got an instance of evade, so that defense reduction doesn't really matter that much. You're going to go ahead and max this skill second, because the final skill is Jason's most important one. And that final skill is Conquering the Sea with Friends. At base, it's going to give all allies a 10 to 20% attack increase for 3 turns. Basically a charisma. But when you pair Jason with the Argonauts, you are going to be getting far more bonuses. That 10 to 20% bonus now also applies to all of the Argonauts' NP gauges. And he also grants a 20 to 30% increase to Argonaut critical strength and critical star drop rate. These buffs do not extend to Jason, so he can't really use it to buff himself. This is Jason's main thematic skill. This is how you are going to build an Argonauts team, which I'll tell you straight up from experience, it's a very fun team to run. I actually do quite enjoy taking them out for a spin. Go ahead and max this skill first. This is Jason's primary source of attack if you have the luxury of using him as a looper, and if you're using him in an Argonauts theme team, this is the skill you want to make sure you get off no matter what. Jason's Noble Phantasm is a Tropste Argo. This deals 450 to 750% damage to all enemies. It's going to deal 750% because he's a 1-star servant in the Friend Point Gacha. You have this man at NP 5. It also increases Jason's arts card effectiveness by 20 to 40%, and it activates before damage is dealt. This is what gives Jason any semblance of a chance in looping with the Castoria system. Remember, I said it is a luxury. Still, characters without a lot of servants who might have happened to get lucky pulling a K-scope or have a servant that can easily charge Noble Phantasms, well, they might be able to use Jason in farming Lancer-type enemies. Practically, that's probably what's going to be happening, but you can of course be a luxury FGO player and use your Grail to 100 Jason to farm Castoria waves. You do you, man. You do you. When it comes to allies, if you want to use Jason as a main damage dealer, of course Arts-type supporters are going to be your best bet. Caster Artoria, as I already mentioned, being the premier pick, but you can of course use Tamama no Mai and Paracelsus von Hohenheim if you're so inclined. However, for Jason's main allies, I definitely picked out 5 of the Argonauts in order to mention. Because Jason, he's designed to support them. He is designed to be their captain with that third skill of his. So I went ahead and picked 5. And we'll start this list with Atalanta Alter, who does remain an Argonaut despite her altered form. This is mainly going to be a good pick because of her self-evolution that eventually changes into Demonic Habituation skill. That critical star gather rate is incredible, and that Buster card critical strength is, of course, massive as well. You combine that with Jason's own critical damage boost on Atalanta Alter, and you're going to be getting some spicy normal attacks out of this servant. Beyond that, I mean, she's a quick type servant as well, so that increased critical star drop rate is also going to be a very helpful boost on Atalanta Alter. Jason's just an all-around good supporter for her. Of course, I by law have to mention Fate Grand Order's first Giga Chad, Heracles himself. If you've been playing the game since launch, you already know that Heracles is incredible. If you are a new player to the game, go ahead and pull a Heracles with Castle in the Snow off of your friends list and watch this man just absolutely refuse to die. Now, Heracles has actually gotten buffed on JP, his Guts skill now increasing his Buster card effectiveness by 20% after his Guts is activated. So it is a man literally too angry to die. Jason, however, can provide him with some sweet bonuses. The critical star gather rate boost is just enough that Heracles might actually be getting some critical stars to increase his overall damage. It's absolutely silly thinking that a Berserker could be getting some critical stars, but hey, give him a critical star absorption and an evade. Of course, conquering the routes with friends is going to be a fantastic boost on Heracles as well, granting attack and P-charge, which he'll need as a Buster Servant, and some crit damage he can actually take advantage of thanks to Jason's second skill. When Jason says, I'm just going to go ahead and throw Heracles at them and it's going to work, with his kit, he actually means that. Of course, if I'm mentioning fantastic Argonauts, I've got to mention fan favorite Canis. And Jason is actually an amazing supporter for them. Canis, of course, has some very powerful attack boosts in the form of Monstrous Strength and their later upgraded Usurping Trident skill. But wait, there's more. The Noble Phantasm on Canis is actually phenomenal. It does deal damage to all enemies and increase NP strength before the damage is dealt. But it also increases Canis' critical strength by 50% for 3 turns. You can use Conquering the Sea with Friends to chuck another 30% on that, and all of a sudden you've got an 80% critical damage boost on Canis. Go ahead and chuck on that critical star gather rate from Inspiration at Death's Door as well, and you are going to be getting a turn of guaranteed high damaging crits. I'm sure some of you might have forgotten, but Nemo does have the Argonaut trait, and Jason can be a great supporter for Nemo as well with all of those boosts. Nemo, being a rider, naturally has a very high critical star gather rate, so any sort of critical damage boost is going to be incredibly effective. Not only that, general attack boost, the ability to give Nemo an evade when all Nemo originally has is a Guts, you're granting this character not only increased damage, but increased survivability. And finally, let's give a shout out to the true powerful saber with the Argonaut tag, Dioscuri, Castor, and Pollux themselves. Dioscuri is already an interesting servant, but Jason is able to help push them a little bit further to new heights. The main bonus I am thinking of here is, of course, stuff from Conquering the Sea with Friends. That critical strength and critical star drop rate boost is an incredible boon on a servant that already gets a boost to quick card effectiveness, so that is going to mean more stars. With Saber Starway, you are looking at a very solid boost to overall critical damage. They're going to be gathering stars at the same rate as Jason, but they're going to be using them far more effectively. And plus, with Dioscuri being an arts servant, well, you can go ahead and use Jason's Noble Phantasm, and then follow it up with Dioscuri's Noble Phantasm to get an increased boost on overcharge to that arts resistance reduction to the enemy. And that's going to be getting you, well, pretty decent refunds if you follow that up with a Dioscuri arts card. So as far as craft essences go with Jason, I know there's going to be a lot of players out there that just want him to die immediately. Well, let me tell you, that is an actual viable strategy. You can give Jason Gouda Gouda Poster Girl and end up getting yourself essentially some free turns. Go ahead and blow all of his buffs on a final wave, and then just watch him get absolutely melted so you can bring in another supporter from the back line to further buff up your Argonauts. Outrage is another great way you can give Jason that support. It only lasts for one turn, but really with an HP pool that low, if you haven't grailed this man, one turn's all you're going to need to get him knocked out. However, if you plan on having Jason stick around, you can of course give him a Fragment of 2030 as a supportive servant. This still remains the absolute king of supportive craft essences, so the same rule that applies to every single supporter applies to Jason as well. If you're looking to sub Jason in really quickly to give a buff in the final wave, consider Crowning Beauty Greater Glory from the Oku Labyrinth event. This grants arts card and quick card effectiveness, which can actually help Jason's Noble Phantasm, but it also instantly grants 20 critical stars when he enters the field. Basically an arts and quick type Golden Catches the Carp, a very good variation of Golden Catches the Carp with better art. And finally, if you're using Jason on Arts team, or if you're using him with the Castoria system, well, you might want to go ahead and give him a Kaleidoscope so he can go ahead and easily use his Noble Phantasm instantaneously. But if you've got a stacked team behind Jason supporting him that can reliably charge up his Noble Phantasm, or if you just want to use him as your main arts damage dealer, consider his Bondcraft Essence at the end of the Dream. This grants 15% arts card effectiveness to all allies, Jason included, while he is on the field. When it comes to Jason's command codes, let's go full support. Why not? That is going to be the absolute best way to go about this. You can go ahead and give him code BLESS if you're on a budget. This just gives him 100 HP. If you're planning on having him stick around for a little while, this can be a good call. If not, well, you don't even really need to give him any command codes. However, there are some other choice options you can give him as a supporter, starting with Crest of the Stone Bird. This increases the party's critical damage by 5% when he attacks using the engraved card. It ain't much, but it stacks with his third skill. Every little bit really helps. You can also give Jason Holy Knight's Aurora Borealis to give your team a free 4 critical stars. That is a solid boost to crit. And finally, if you're feeling frisky, you can give Jason Coffin of the Fall. This removes one debuff immunity buff from the enemy when attacking using the engraved card. Debuff immunity can actually be a little bit of a pain if you're fielding servants like Heracles, who gets a defense reduction off his Noble Phantasm, or Dioscuri, who have that fantastic arts and quick reduction that they can chuck on the enemy. That won't go through debuff immunity, so use Jason to remove that debuff and then inflict debuffs to your heart's content. Overall, gang, Jason's silly. That's really the best way I can describe it. He can actually be a pretty decent supporter on an Argonaut theme team, but he doesn't really have much application outside of that. If you're looking to be a total and absolute FGO meme lord, go ahead, grail your Jason to 100. When Castoria comes out, use him as a Castoria looper, and cackle at the fact that you were able to do that. Listen, gang, you do you. If that's what you want to do, remember, it's possible, and I will not stop you. Most players will find that Jason is just a practical pick for Argonauts teams. You'll use his buff super quickly, and then you'll go ahead and let him fall off to let your actual damage dealer do the work. When Jason says he commands from the back line, he means it. He's not going to be really able to do a lot on the front line unless you sink that heavy investment in him. I'll say it one more time. Listen, you do you. Whatever works. Whatever works for you. If I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts about Jason down in the comment section below. Let me know if you think there's anything I missed so that we can all be better players together. If you want to talk more FGL, my Discord server is always open. Huge thanks as always to the patrons on Patreon and the followers and subscribers on Twitch for your continued support. Listen, y'all make streaming fun, all of you, and I really appreciate it. This is Kawaii50, hoping you'll have a phenomenal day, and I will see you all in the next video.